Thanks, Sam. Good to see everyone. And I'm going to call back to Stephanie's, and I'm your proverbial rat jumping off the building portion of the session today. So when Sam and I were talking about this and what, I was like, are you sure you really want me here? Because these are like really smart people that are delivering amazing messages, and you're going to put me up there with them. And he said, yes, I do. So here we go. Yeah, as Sam mentioned, I'm playing in this space, and I love it, and I'm passionate about it. But one of the things that I'm seeing out there in the state as I continue to work in this sector is some definitions that we should clarify. And certainly as I look at innovation and entrepreneurship, they're not the same. So let's be very elementary. I'm going to give your brain a break from all the deep knowledge that you're getting imparted on you, and take it high level. Innovation, the introduction of something new idea, method, or device. And Sam mentioned collaborations. I just saw an article today in the Charleston Business Journal about a collaboration between Clemson and MUSC that have created a new operating room environment, and I'm going to read right from the article about what they're doing. It says, in an effort to design an operating room that increases patient safety and easier for doctors to use, MUSC has been working with Clemson on a 4-year project which began in 2015, which I didn't even know, to study how doctors maneuver around the operating room. The idea here is not to just look at the design or come up with a nicer looking OR, but to really understand how do people work in the spaces, what are the concerns, and to be sure that it's not just related to the design. So when I think about that, it's really cool to think about how inventions come and how innovators think about the world differently. And so I go back to Edison's light bulb and thinking about how he probably saw the world and wanted it to look differently than how it was currently looking. As we look at innovation and think about it and apply it to what we already know and some baseline of activity going on, not all innovations actually have to be brand new inventions. They can be iterations on things that currently exist. So we think about the transition of, the evolution of the light bulb since Edison's first iteration of it. Same rings true. So for this life sciences industry, a lot of that activity is going to be done in research labs, and it's going to be figuring out new iterations on stuff that already exists. And that can become great innovation. You heard all the potential pitfalls that come from the application process, the legal process, structuring it, but the innovators are the ones that see the world and still are going to push the needle forward even despite some of those challenges of how you take that from idea to actually commercialization. I see, going to that reference article, I see robotics being such a big play in how things continue to evolve in this sector and obviously our manufacturing sector in the state. So important to understand innovators, and a lot of times they are working on these things and they're iterating on these things constantly, and they're testing it and they're trying it and they're breaking it and it's not working, but then they do it again, they do it again, they do it again. So that's really a core functionality of innovation, and I think it's important, and I see my partners at Commerce in the room, that not all of these things are going to work the first time. If it happened that way, it was too easy. It's going to take testing, it's going to take trying, it's going to take iterating. So now let's talk about these mystical creatures that we call entrepreneurs. So it's also equally important to understand that entrepreneurs, and Sam and I have talked about this, we say at the harbor, we're literally throwing a dock party at the end of the dock that doesn't exist yet, and we are just putting the planks down as we're corralling the people to come have the dock party. We're building it as we go. As you see here, similar analogy, someone who jumps off a cliff and builds the plane on the way down. These are crazy people, but they play an important role in the ecosystem, as do the attorneys that help structure things, as do the regulatory guiding Sherpas, as do the inventors. The entrepreneurs also play an important role in the ecosystem as we look about building this life sciences industry in the state. So Sam asked me to talk a little bit about my journey, which I don't like doing, but I'm doing for him. And so 4 years ago, Patrick and I had a crazy idea to start this accelerator program, and I see Chelsea in the room who actually participated in that first program 4 years ago. We literally had not mapped out anything other than the first 6 months. Like, let's just try a thing and let's see if anybody will care. And I think that's a important sort of mindset to understand about the entrepreneurs and how they view the world, is that they're willing to try and take the risk and do it without knowing all the potential shortfalls that could derail them. So, the good news about our journey is it started to work and people started to care. And so after we launched that first accelerator program 4 years ago, we started bringing more things to the entrepreneur community. And, the one with Patrick and I and Brandon was from the first startup weekend that was hosted in Charleston. And then Dig South comes along, and this is a tech conference if you've not been to, certainly have on your radar. Our team won the first pitch and then the second pitch, and so we started to see traction there, and they started getting money. We started actually writing some checks into companies that were coming out of our accelerator program and supporting that. And then I have been fortunate to be able to start traveling nationally to understand how these ecosystems are being built across the country. And so, being at the New Orleans Entrepreneur Week with Steve Case, the co-founder of AOL, and then, Jackie and I went up to New York and participated, in the Accelerator Alley in the largest startup conference that they've ever had up in New York, 30,000 people that were there, which was pretty crazy. The cool part about that is we found people that said, "Oh, you're in South Carolina?" Like, I had no idea there was anything going on there, and we started bringing people and introducing companies to the potential of moving to South Carolina. And then just a few weeks ago, I was back in D.C. with Steve Case and their Rise of the Rest Summit. Cool fact to know, so it's certainly relevant in this industry. So Steve and team raised $150 million from LPs like Jeff Bezos and the co-founder of Carlyle Group and Bill Gates. And so these are the LPs in this $150 million Rise of the Rest fund. I'm proud to say that in their first tranche of investments out of that fund, one of those was a South Carolina-based company that we invested in and teed up. So it's a really neat development to see how this is evolving, and now knowing that we're going to be on the radar to bring other money from outside of the state into investing in companies that are growing here. So, we heard a lot about sort of recruiting in. We're doing a lot of work, and there's a lot of efforts underway to move the needle from the ground up, and hopefully we can continue to start playing together. It's also important to know it's not all glamorous. I mean, the entrepreneur journey is a rough one. There are the highs of being in the conference room and being able to hang out with Steve Case, and then there's the other reality of you're ripping up carpet at 10 o'clock at night because you got to get floors laid down in your new building the next day. So this is a very consistent attribute of the entrepreneur mindset, that is, they will just do whatever it takes and they will keep grinding in order to move their initiative forward. The path is also not a linear one. So the winds are going to change, your operating environment's going to change, but the fun part is that as long as you can embrace the journey, then it really becomes a satisfying, sexy lifestyle. So I'm sorry, the one that can't be displayed is one of my favorite images, which is from Kevin Spacey, and it says, if you're lucky enough to achieve a level of success, it's your obligation to send the stairwell back down. And Sam and I have talked about, on a state level, sort of the assets that are here and the acumen and the knowledge base and the experience of people who have come to our state, both, certainly upstate and low country area, and in the Midlands too, but primarily in those regions. we have an untapped asset in my mind of these amazing experiences and people with knowledge and know-how that can contribute to the future of building the business of life sciences in our state. And so it's a mindset that I think we can adopt and try and engage a lot of these people that have done well other parts that are now living here because they want to be here, but can contribute to the development of this ecosystem. So with that, I'm keeping us on time, and I'm going to answer a couple of questions if anyone has any. Kat.
What's the most important advice you can give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
Build your team. I mean, you heard all the different, it's unrealistic to think that you're going to do it all. So the faster you start to recognize the skills that your company is going to need and begin to build the team, whether that's paid partners, contractors, etc., all part of it, start surrounding yourself with the experts and the people that can help you move it forward. The best CEOs hire people way smarter than them and get that team going as fast as possible.
As you talked early on, that it was the last 5 to 10 years, we found kind of that entrepreneurial innovation kind of space in the state, and definitely there's pockets around. What do you see the factors that have contributed to accelerating or making that foundation today, and what are the factors that will take it to the next level?
Yeah, I call it our Mount Rushmore. Certainly if we talk with the tech sector, software sector, we've had several exits. 20 years ago, Blackbaud, Benefit Focus, automated trading desks start in Charleston, and Blackbaud, Benefit Focus go public, and automated trading desk sells for $680 million. So the liquidity events there, plus the seasoned experience of those executives now starting to pour in, you see that second tranche of companies. Now we have, I know of personally, over $100 million of invested dollars in software companies in the Charleston area. So as those companies sell, and we're starting to see it, then all of a sudden that just widens, and now we're in that sort of third tranche. The second is the maturation level of the both ecosystem and support networks. So you heard from really smart people earlier today, as we continue to just pour smart people into this and connecting dots, that those pathways, people, I've already seen it in 4 years, from the applicant pool into the accelerator. Like the level of sophistication that the companies, they're coming in asking better questions, they're working on bigger problems, they have greater opportunities. So I only see that continuing as things like this and people get continually connected.
What are the differentiators, or if there were one or two that South Carolina possesses, you think, that can help, building on Eric's question, help us go to the next level, attract more capital, attract more interest? Is part of it even quality of life and our ability to recruit the creative class here?
It is. I mean, with the cloud, you can build a lot of these companies from anywhere, and remote workforce is going to be a big part of sort of the next generation of how companies operate. So having a great place to live is going to be a key asset. The other is we're not so mature that you can't break into the system. Right? Like you can come into a room like this and you connect with 15 people that are going to actually help you move forward. In these bigger markets and more mature ecosystems, it's tough to crack that nut. So I think that becomes an advantage for us, for anyone trying to move something forward, is we can integrate them and connect them into the right people. And that's why I'm so thankful and passionate about what you're doing with this organization.